Hi everyone, this is Julianne Victoria of Through the Peacock's Eyes, and this is a video I've been promising to make for a while. This video I will discuss the major differences between Vedic and Western astrology, and as many of you know, I practice and study both systems, and I give readings in either Vedic or Western astrology as well. And before I begin with the differences, I do want to stress that both are valid systems. They work a little bit differently, though there's a lot of similarities. Um, and they're read slightly differently, and different things are taken into account, which I will discuss. But I do want to stress they are both valid systems. One is not better than the other. For many astrologers, it's a personal preference. And for clients, I leave it up to you. Which are you more drawn to? Okay, so the number one difference is the zodiac system that is used between the two systems. Now, they all have the same 12 signs of the zodiac because those are the constellations in the belt of the zodiac. But Vedic astrology follows what's called a sidereal zodiac, and it bases the placement of the planets against the background of the stars. And another way to say it that is more clear is that the placement of the planets in Vedic astrology matches the astronomy. So for example, if in the night sky right now, wherever you are able to see the constellation of Leo, you will see that the planet Jupiter is in Leo right now. So in the astronomy, and if you look up in the sky, you will see the planet Jupiter in the sign of Leo. And that is what Vedic astrology looks at. It's the placement of the planets against the background of the stars. Now, in Western astrology, they use a tropical zodiac, and that's based on the seasons. So the zodiac is fixed. So, for example, the sun in Western astrology always begins on the equinox in March. So in the northern hemisphere, that's spring. In the southern hemisphere, that is fall or autumn. And that never changes. So the planet placement is a little bit different than in Vedic astrology because it is fixed. And I should go back and say in Vedic astrology, it takes into account that the stars, everything out there is moving. And the background of stars shifts 1 degree every 72 years. And that actually ties in with the precession of the equinoxes, which would be a whole other video. Okay, so Vedic astrology, sidereal zodiac, based on the background of the stars. Western astrology, tropical zodiac, based on the season, and it's fixed. So even though, Vedic astrology and astronomically, my example, Jupiter is in Leo right now. In Western astrology, Jupiter is in Virgo. And again, they are both valid systems because the charts are read slightly differently, and other things are taken into account that are different in each system. Okay, the other thing, Vedic astrology takes into account the lunar zodiac, which is the 27 nakshatras. And Western astrology has dropped the lunar zodiac in its system. However, Western astrology takes into account asteroids such as Chiron, Juno, Ceres, Athena. It also looks at Black Moon Lilith, and none of that is looked at in Vedic astrology. Western astrology always includes Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. Vedic astrology usually does not. When Vedic astrology was developed, there were no telescopes, and Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto could not be seen with the naked eye, so they were not included, though some modern astrologers do include them now, and it does add some very interesting things to the chart. Both systems use the nodes of the moon. In Vedic astrology, it's called Rahu and Ketu. Western astrology, it's usually called North and South node. And both of those look at karma, but I would have to say it's a little bit different in each system. Vedic astrology does focus a lot on planetary rulership. So the planets that rule the signs, the planets that rule the houses. And then I want to get into Vedic astrology also has dasha periods, which are planetary influential periods based on the planetary ruler of the nakshatra your moon was in at your moment of birth. So everyone's dasha periods will lay out a little bit differently. And Western astrology doesn't have that at all. Other things to take into account, how the house system is laid out. As far as I know, and as far as I've ever seen or studied, Vedic astrology always uses whole house system. Now, someone asked me once about, a non-whole house system in Vedic astrology, and I have never seen it or heard of it, but it may be out there. But for the most part, Vedic astrology is a whole house system. So, for example, if your ascendant, your first house is Sagittarius, it will encompass all of Sagittarius. Now, Western astrology, there's different house systems. And, that's the preference of the astrologer. Maybe it's, who taught them or how they learned. There is a whole house system in Western astrology called Hellenistic. And there's also non-whole house systems where, say, your first house can encompass two adjacent signs. So your first house may be, your ascendant may be in Aries, but your first house is Aries and then Taurus. And that's Porphyry. There's also Placidus system. So there's different house systems used. And that could give slightly different readings on your Western astrology, depending on who you see and what system they use. There's also ways to look at charts in both systems based on your sun and your moon. So you can have a moon chart done. That's more Vedic, but solar charts are read in Western astrology. So that's another layer looked at. However, in Vedic astrology, there is the Sudarshan chakra, which looks at your chart based on your ascendant, a chart based on your moon, and on your sun as a 3-layer chart. And I suppose that can be done in Western, though I've not known anyone to do that. Usually in Western, there's your natal chart, which is your rising chart or ascendant chart. Rising and ascendant are the same thing. But you can also look at the solar chart, and I often look at a combination of those two. Whereas in Vedic astrology, I look at your birth chart, which is based on your ascendant, and then I may look at your moon chart if it's very significant. And if there's time, we can look at the nakshatra influence. So those are the major differences. Both systems, you look at aspects. In Vedic astrology, they're called drishtis. Even yogas are kind of aspects, but they're how planets cluster together and aspect themselves. There's hundreds, if not thousands, of yogas in Vedic astrology, and usually when I do a reading, I use the term aspects because it's easier to understand. Yeah, so those are the major differences between the two systems. Vedic astrology, if you wanted to calculate, is 25 degrees backwards from Western astrology. So if you wanted to calculate everything in your head, and you have your Western chart, you just minus 25 degrees from every planet. Or if you're coming from a Vedic system, you add 25 degrees to every planet placement to see where it is in a Western chart placement. Again, that would be whole house to whole house usually. Or you can look online and look for free online calculators to pull up your different charts if you're curious and you want to compare the two, and try to see if you can pull up different house systems as well. It can be very interesting. Both systems look at transits as well. Oh, and I also want to mention in Vedic astrology, there's also divisional charts. So it's a divisional chart is like taking a house from your birth chart and peeling it open, and like peeling open the layers of it. So you can go deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. Okay, those are the major differences between Vedic and Western astrology. I hope this was helpful to some of you who are curious. Yes, so if you have any questions, of course, there's more details to differences, but those are the major ones. Let me know, leave your comments below. And if you're interested in an astrology reading or tarot or life coaching session, just go to my website, peacockseyes.com, and click the Empress card on the right-hand side or click the link below. All right, thanks, everyone.